Yeah, I gotta record. Okay, so we missed a little of that. But anyhow, so we're gonna start out with doing the underpainting with the alcohol wash. And this is gonna, I'll have you refer to the picture that I sent to you because this is printed out from my printer. And as you know, it's not, and here's a smaller version. I mean, you can see the difference in the color. And so if you can either print it out or really look at your picture too that I sent you.
Hold on.
Because this part here, what you're seeing, all this blue right here is all reflection from the sky. It's telling you it was a bluebird day, all of this. And underneath it is what we're going to paint that underpainting. And it's it's the green. It's a dark, dark green. So it may seem a little strange, and for those who, maybe if you haven't done a wave with me, that what we're looking at is trying to picture it without any of this foam or any of this white crashing water. We're trying to think about what color is underneath here, and you can see some of the sand has been pulled up, right? It's being pulled up into that crest of that wave. So we're gonna look at maybe some darker mauvey purples and some darker blues. And this is this plane here is flat, so it's really reflecting the sky. You can see that by the blue right here. But underneath it, the actual value is the same as here. I know that seems strange, but it's because of the way that the water is coming in and then curling up, and those planes and the way that the light is reflecting off of it. So I'm going to start from the top and work my way down. You can sketch out. I'm just going to kind of sketch the wave a little bit with a light blue. I have a new pastel, and I'm just going to use that to kind of indicate these lines, very simple lines. One thing I want you to pay attention though with waves, and I'll do it, I tend to make them a little bigger than they are. So think about size and proportion. You know, look at where this is. We're going to have a little bit more of the foam area down here and the wave, and this is smaller, and that's okay. We don't really want it to be equal parts compositionally. So just pay attention. Look at this area is the same width as this area. So so we're just going to start. Grab your pastel, whatever you have, and I do a bounding box like this with my mat like you've seen before. It just kind of helps me visually lay out. And then if I want to frame it, I've learned too many times I go off the page and then it's an odd, strange size and I can't mat or frame it. So we're just going to kind of start. I'm just looking about where this is hitting, and I want it to be equal parts. And so looking to where
Marie?
this, yeah.
Sorry, I have a question because I'm actually using pastel mat.
Oh, you are? Awesome.
Yeah, I'm using it regularly because I can't find much else here in Poland.
Yeah.
I just was wondering if, because I usually don't do wet underpainting because it destroys it destroys the paper a little bit.
It's weird, yes. So for you with the pastel mat that I did, so I did this one on the pastel mat. And so what you're going to do is, instead of doing the wet underpainting, you're going to take these colors that we're going to use, and you're just going to build on top of that. So when I pause to wet it with the alcohol, you can continue on, but just very light touch. And if you've been using pastel mat, you know it can take some layers.
Yeah, exactly. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Good
I
job.
was just wondering.
Yeah. So I'm just, I want this and I want that.
Marie,
Yeah.
for underpainting, you're not using a contrasting color like we sometimes do with red or pink or.
That's a good point. So with waves, I don't. I tend to stick with the local color, the color that I actually see. And this is because with the pastel or the sanded paper, waves really pop better when you have the local color underneath and then laying the foam on top.
Oh,
We
okay.
wouldn't have that opportunity if we were to paint it like you know, a yellow underpainting and then throw on some purple or blue. It wouldn't look right, and then we'd end up covering it up. So with waves, I suggest just doing local color and not complementary per se. I'm not saying that you can't use complementary colors within each other as we're painting, because of course that will look good, but I'm gonna try to stick fairly close to what I see. I'm going to probably intensify a little bit. You know, I like that green where it's kind of backlit from the sun. It's thinner water right here, and so you're actually seeing the sunlight come through, because as the wave is coming up, it's thinner water and it's not as thick as it is at the base, which is why we see this darker color down here. So I'm going to stick with local, and I've just made some marks. I actually haven't drawn out this white piece. I'm just doing it like that. So that's just to keep my eye and make sure proportionally. So we can start in with under the color. So this is always a tricky part. And so looking, if you zoom in on the picture, you can see that darker green in the way back. The one thing that we want to do is our focus is our wave, and we don't want to compete. We don't want to make this super saturated with color, bright and intense, and this, because then they're going to compete and this won't read as distant. So that's something to keep in mind as we begin. So I'm going to start with a darker green. It's a blue green. And I'll take a picture. And this one is a medium, semi-medium hard pastel. I didn't really have it in a new pastel color. And does anyone, I've been hearing that new pastels are going to be hard to find. Does anyone know anything about that? Are they going out of business? I don't know. It's just something I heard. So I'm going to lightly just horizontal. You can still see my pastel paper. And I'm going to take some dark blue new pastel. Just put a little bit in here. And that's this one. So I've used those two. And if you're doing the pastel matte, Linda, then this is where you're just kind of lightly working those two together on your paper.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're going to get kind of a blended effect. Okay, so now I'm moving down into the wave. Looking, let's see here. And it's okay where, you can blend these. I'm just, it's a little better. Okay. I'm looking for a olive green almost, but more on the bluer side. And I'm looking at carrying this over in this section. So I'm going to start up here. And I'm going to come in with some brighter green as well. So it's going to be a blend. Get flat. Pretty light up in there. Okay. I'm going to take this green. Let's see if this, that's the same. Just looking at this green. Taking this and putting it over that other green. I'm going to take a yellower green and intensify that a little more. Not a whole lot up and into here. This is still super light, and I'm going to preserve that, the part where this foam is. So now I'm kind of looking down into the shaded area of the wave. It's going to be darker, and then it's going cooler. So I'm going to go darker, very light, in the same family of these dark greens, just a shade darker. I'm probably going to add some of this, almost like a muted blue, pretty dark on the scale, the value scale. If we take the time on this underpainting piece, we really don't have to do too much on top. So just lightly. I know it's hard to think that that blue that we're seeing in this part of this wave is the sky reflecting. So trying to take that blue out right now and really think about what's, if we were to cover the sun, what color would that be right now, that value? That's what we're after. Kind of comes up into here. And it warms up a little bit more into a.
How would you describe the color that you're using right now? Is that a brown?
It's almost like a brown. It's a dark green, a really dark green brown on the warmer. Well, I wouldn't even say warmer. Almost looks the same as the blue up above. I'm gonna go more muted to a muted purple and still in the same value family. It's a little cooler. I'm looking right in here. I'm going to carry that down into here. Switching to a bluer, same value. So it's more of a blue-green. Take a picture. Got green. Let's see here. I put some of this in here. This is like a warm purple. I'm just seeing a little bit more of that sand, which comes across as like a mauvey purple. I'm just gonna put a little bit, because when we lay that foam over it and we've done our underpainting, it's gonna hopefully blend out to where it reads, right? So that's what I'm seeing. And I bring some of this purple down into here. That sand is getting turned around and we've got a little bit more of that green in here. So I'm gonna pop some of that back in here. Bring some of that blue right down into here. Okay. Go ahead and send over what you have. Let me see. You have a minute. Also, kind of like at a weird angle. Good. Yeah. This is great, Jackie. Good, Jeannie.
Yeah, it's too dark at the bottom, but I'll I'll
You're gonna-
spit that
yeah.
out with the alcohol.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of the alcohol is we can take off some of that. If we get too much or it doesn't look right, we can add more pastel and just, or you can just take it and just lift it off with your brush.
Mhm.
And so that's the nice part is if it just, you might want to take some off where I would say, if anything, where you're going to put your whites on, but you're going to be fine. And I had my brush and then it walked off, I swear. I just tell ya. I also have I have a makeshift studio in my dining room right now too, because the canvas is too big to be in here. So I've moved half of my stuff out there.
So you're taking over the whole house is what you're saying.
I know. I pretty much, the boys can just eat in their rooms apparently. So I know. Yes. Good job, Robin. Yeah. And in our next step, pouring and doing the alcohol wash, do remember that you want to paint like you're painting a wave. Paint it like it's a wave, the direction and movement of the water. Paint it like it's curving over, and I'll show you, but it's really important to do that because you're setting that underneath to look, it's like a roadmap, right? So I need a wider brush. Hold on for a minute. I'm gonna see if I've got one in the other room. I'm looking for a flat, probably like an 8 is the best. A wider one. If you don't have that, that's okay. Even a fan brush you can use. Okay.
So I'm visiting my mother right now in South Carolina, and I don't have alcohol, I believe. I don't see, I'm in her art room at the moment and I don't see any alcohol. So I think I'll just rub mine.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, you can do that. And if you have Gamsol, you can use Gamsol.
Oh, she might have Gamsol. I'll look around. The good news is that I have the rest of, she has the rest of my grandmother's old pastels. Look at this drawer.
Oh,
Isn't that wild? I'm trying to organize them, but they're,
oh
it's
my
like a mix
gosh,
of
Robin.
Rembrandts and oil pastels and ambiguous ones and these awesome square ones that I've been putting into like colors and
What a
Yeah.
gold mine.
Yeah.
I know, isn't that wild? She loved pastels. She died 5 years ago. And so these have just been sitting here and I had taken a bunch and which is what I've been using at home in the Bay Area. But yeah, I'm back here looking now that I've been working with you guys. I've been, learning and I'm like, oh, okay, these are the rest of them. Well, I'll have to decide which colors I want to take this round.
You do. And if they're like the long kind of square ones, those are probably like the Terry Ludwigs. I don't know if they're like big, but or the Great Americans. You'll find that as the more you use them, you'll figure out the texture of them and what they do, because that is the beauty of each maker of pastel. I haven't been trying the Blue Earth, but that's so exciting, Robin. You're so lucky. My gosh.
Yeah, I feel very, and my mother's like, oh, I don't really like pastels. You take them. So
Oh,
here we are.
you know, I didn't really like them either. I've told the story. I was like, I didn't, but I think it just takes the time and patience to really figure out what you can do with them. And they really truly are beautiful. once you figure it out, but they can be messy and a pain, I will say. Okay, so yeah, look and see if you got some Gamsol. I'm gonna start with the lightest, and I've got just this part where I'm looking at the movement of the water. I love that. I love that about this picture. And so I'm just gonna paint it as it's coming down. Take your time. And if this is the part where you need to lift some of that paint off, you can. I want to try to blend so these are soft edges and not hard edges, so that I see the transition from the light to dark. But as I lay my pastel over it, it's not going to be this competing line. I'll use some of that to bring it up and over here. This is also practice. You start learning how much pigment to lay down. So when you start blending, it is hard to know how the color is going to dry or what it's going to be when it gets wet. And so that does take time. Picking out this by far probably was the best workshop in my beginning of pastels for me, because I do things that I've learned when I took this workshop. I have really applied it to almost all my landscape paintings, and that's truly thinking about layering and what's your first layer. And because that is the beauty of pastels, is that layering of colors that I love.
Should I lighten my wave more?
Let me look at it. Yeah, like I would say probably where the foam piece, because everything else is looking really good, but maybe right over in this area. It's not going to hurt it. It's just that when you're trying to layer some of the color over it, it just fills up the tooth, right?
Right.
So if you can, this is just kind of the shadow area. The idea is to get your paper toned, right? But also to get a good base. Really want to make sure this is dissolving. Mhm. Some people didn't even know you could wet your pastel like this and turn it into paint. So I think for me, I've kind of lost my edges a little bit, so I'm gonna get that back on. Just so I know. It helps me. This is also the part where I'm gonna let mine dry. That yeah, that's better, Jeannie.
Yeah, I like the wavy part much better now. And I
Yeah,
got some cool drips.
exactly. And that's the important part is to let the let that piece where the lightness stay, you know, create it and have a place for it, because it's just gonna pop that much more.
Yeah.
So here is mine. Let me see. I'll wait because I know this is always so hard to follow along and pick your pastels and then keep up. Mine's still kind of drying. So go ahead and send over what you have when you're ready. I'm gonna flip this upside down. This is something really important for people who are starting out with pastels and waves. This is something that I was shown that really helps with perspective and proportions mainly. And so when you're taking your painting and flipping it upside down, you're allowing your brain to not say, hey, this is a wave. You're letting your brain just look at shapes. And also what's important about this step too, is you're gonna see how that foam lies so flat and even and level. It's kind of surprising. And so well, it helps if I have this actually level, huh? This is our next step. So when we do our underpainting, as you just saw, I had to take my mat and go back because I need to get reset in my mind of proportion. That to me helps, but for others you don't have to. But I needed to make sure that I have the edges and I know where I'm starting and where I'm stopping. So at this point, what I was taught is to use the pastel pencil and to really kind of sketch back in, make sure that your lines and your foam and where you're gonna place your highlights, and make sure your actual wave. I can already see some areas that I just went too big, and so you can't see it the other way. And this is like a lot of artists actually have mirrors behind them. So as they're painting and drawing, I'm sure you've heard of that too, where they have mirrors, and I highly suggest getting a mirror behind you. It's fascinating to see what happens. It's like, whoa. Things just pop out so fast. So right now I can see this area of my painting. Look how straight I came across, and really look how it dips down. So I'm going to correct that. See how it's at an angle? It's not straight across. So this is a part where I can come in and correct. I also see this line. Oh, someone's here. This line right here. Hold on just a second. Say hi to everyone. Hi, everybody. Come in. The fourth wall, come in. Oh my gosh, you guys. Did any of you know this?
No.
Come in. Come in. See my little space.
Hi.
Oh my gosh. Molly's like freaking out. Oh, thank you. Leah. So much. Oh, thank you. Oh my gosh, you guys. Okay. Yes, yes. Here, I'm sending. Oh my God, these are beautiful, Leah. Oh. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. I was wondering why you wanted my address. I was like, okay.
Oh.
Yes, this is Molly. Okay, guys. Okay. Do you want me to turn this?
Yeah,
Okay.
all right. Smile. All right, now
Molly, my dog.
Those cookies are great.
Whoops. Aren't they great? Oh my gosh, you guys. Ah, she did such a good job.
She's so good.
Ah,
Here, hold on. This is crazy. This space is.
I told you.
You did. I'm trying to get it all. One more time.
This is hilarious.
I will not keep you guys. But
Oh, thank you, Leah.
that we love
Thank
you.
you, thank you, thank you.
Bye, we all
Oh,
love
yes,
you.
thank you.
And,
This means a lot.
and I
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, you guys.
Oh, good. That worked as well as I thought it would.
Thank you, thank you. Love you too. Oh, thank
right.
you.
Maybe I'll see some of you at 11:30.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Leah.
When I will come in later, I just
Okay.
wanted to play.
Oh, this is so great. Thank you, thank you. Oh, come in. Oh, thank you, Leah. This means so much. Thank you, thank you.
Well, you mean so much.
Oh.
And next
Oh my God, yes, yes, you can come over into my little spaces, you can see. It's small, yeah. All right, okay, bye. Okay, that's hilarious, you guys. That is too funny. Oh my gosh. I had no idea. I'm not surprised very often. That's awesome. Wow.
That's fantastic. Those cookies are amazing.
I
Yeah.
know. Isn't she talented?
But
And
she made those. Wow,
she made these.
that's amazing.
Yeah, she makes them and then she painted them, and and it's funny as I'm meeting her later in the day. So that little stinker.
So you'll be eating them.
I know. Yes, I'm gonna definitely need my walk, right? Oh my gosh. I was like, who keeps knocking? Okay, UPS, go away. That's hilarious. Okay, so back to the class. Oh my gosh. No, this is like the most important piece of learning how to do these waves. I can't believe, you think you get your shapes, right? And then it's like, oh, that needs to kind of come over here. So this is a really important step. And I'm just kind of following these lines as a map to make sure that I'm getting my angles right. And the foam. The foam is not going to have to be perfect. I think that's the part I've always said, that you can design it to make it work. I actually think this foam I like it. I like where the placement and the spreading of it over the wave. I think it's beautiful. So I'm gonna keep that piece of it, the shadow. And then we've got here, and an angle. I'm just kind of paying attention to these lines. So we've got the base. You don't have to do this. It just helps because I like the foam on this particular piece. And looks like a bunch of scribbles, I know. Come around here. This really comes up higher than I thought. Also, another tip when we're painting this water, sometimes with these new pastels, they have that edge, and you can get it to where you can pull like this and pull it up when it's upside down far better than you can when, like, let's say it's right side up and you're pulling it up this way. Sometimes you can get these angles better when it's upside down. So that's just a tip too. Okay. So I'm going to need to add some of that darker blue right down in here, because this kind of comes. I'm going to go ahead and take my alcohol wash. I could dry rub this in, yes. You don't have to do. But I am, since it's here.
I do. Oh.
Adding some of that back in. It seems tedious and it seems frustrating a little bit, the amount of time that you can spend, but trust me, this time on the underpainting is really important with waves. One thing with wetting the pastel is that you're fixing it to the paper. So you're not going to have that mixing or blending that you get with other when you lay the pastel down on another pastel, which we like, right? We like that the layering effect. But when you wet it and affix it, you're creating it fixed and it's not going to mix with that top layer. Okay. I'm just gonna let that dry and probably add back in. Okay. I'm gonna right side this. Go ahead and send me over where you're at. I actually do the flipping upside down quite a bit on my paintings if I don't have a mirror behind me. It helps. I'll take a picture. Yeah, Linda, that looks good. So what I would do up on the up here with your Linda, up here on the top with your water, I would take if you have something to like blend, you can use with your finger and do a straight across. So see how your marks are going up and down? We want to make the water lay flat. So go ahead and yeah, blend those right and keep going straight all the way into this little area right here, like right up to that wave. Try to keep it as, and what it's going to do is pull this wave piece forward.
Okay.
Yep. Very nice. Good, Robin. So what I would say too is, so see your distance from the top of your whites to here. So proportionally,
yeah,
this is what happens is it just grows so fast. So the way you can fix that is just add some more blue to the top. So raise your top piece up higher.
okay, great idea. I have
And
the
then
space.
so just raise it just a little bit farther up and then that will help. And this line, yes, okay, so you've got that coming down, I see. So then you have this, yep, good. Yeah, I would just do that. I love it. That's so cool. Oh my God. Now you can see the mess in my studio. Good grief. Okay. Let's see here. So now we're gonna think about what we're gonna lay on top of our underpainting. So we want to make sure that this kind of stays in the distance. So we don't want it real too bright. We want it there, but just a little bit more subdued. So I'm going to go with some dark blue, navy blue, and I'm just going to lightly kind of add a little more, and it's just up and down. Use my finger for blending. Just layering. Let some of that green poke through. Some say, why did you even add the green? Well, we want that green to shine through because this is, again, a bluebird day, as we can tell. And really that color of that water is that green. It's just reflecting. So I'll add more to the back, like the lighter blues, kind of after I start in on the wave piece of it. Okay. I'll send that over to you. Doesn't want to load. I think I'll have a cookie. She really does make the best cookies, I will say.
I didn't realize you guys are in the same town.
Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't.
She lives in Portland. I live about 20 minutes away.
That's great.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what do we want to do? Ooh, very nice, Jackie. See how that pushes that wave forward?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. That's a tendency because the camera only picks up so much. That's why this is getting the sun, but we don't want it to compete with our main attraction. So we're not going to put too bright of colors in the back. Matter of fact, I have this blue that I may. And it's like this brighter blue. And I think it could work. I have this pulled out for something else, but
On the camera, that looks kind of purpley.
yeah. I'll take a picture of it. It does have some purple to it. It's like I would call it a royal blue. But again, it's brighter. It's not lighter. So we're maintaining the value. We're just intensifying it. It's not going, we're not tinting the color to where it's becoming a lighter in color. I like that. Okay. Let's move into the wave portion. Foam is crazy. And I know this is something that I've learned. The fact that this foam and the shade and this could be like, shoot, it could be this change in the value. I mean, if you can see that, that's what's crazy. So since I have some of this off to the side, I'm gonna just check to see if this is value is okay. And with the sun shining on this piece, we're gonna be looking at more warmer, not white, but more of a cream. I just need to look at the picture again. Because we've got shadows. Almost needs to be in between. So this is the tricky part where I'm kind of just going through some of these. That's too purple. Oof. That is. Let's see here. Okay.
So what kind of purple are you looking for right now?
Right now, I'm kind of trying to find an in-between purple blue, but it's going to be probably a couple colors. And I might have to blend, but I want it to pop on the green, but I don't want it to be too bright. And so I'm just kind of trying to find that happy medium. And it might be a combination of these. So what I'm going to do is lay this blue. It's actually the same one that I laid down here. And I'm just gonna idea. Kind of press hard and then not so hard. I'm gonna take some of this off with a brush. So I'm pressing fairly hard and just pulling down to where it stops, because this is all in the shadow. We have a little bit up here. And then it stops right there. A little bit over in here. A little bit up in here. I know that seems a little intense at first. But we're gonna now take we're gonna come in a little bit lighter, a shade lighter, right to where these parts meet, because we're gonna be transitioning. I'm just coming along the edge here. We're gonna be transitioning into the lighter. So it's gonna go real dark.
Is that a purple or a blue?
It's a purple.
Ah,
I'm gonna show you. And I'm just, so it's still in shadow, but it's just a little bit lighter. So now it's getting a little more light as we're moving out.
Mm,
You see what I mean?
yes.
This is a lot of training your eye. I'll tell you, waves really make you think about what you're looking at.
It's also like you think you find the right color and then you put it next to everything else and you realize, oh, it's totally, too bright, too blue, too gray.
Exactly. You can see why I was hesitating because exactly for that reason. I'm just like, that's why it's really important if you spend the time on your underpainting. I'm just laying some of this color on. I'm going to come back and lift some of it off with my brush. I found that to be the easiest, is lay your foam down a little bit thicker and then pull it off, because what happens is when you set your underpainting with that alcohol, it's already set. You're not blending it. It's like affixed to your pastel paper. So when you remove that layer off, you can really see the difference underneath. It gives you that 3D effect. So now I'm going to look at a little bit lighter, still in the warmer family. And it's got a little pink to it. And I'm going to see if this works. And I'm going to drag it up because this is curving up this wave. And this is in the lighter because I'm not hitting it with the light parts yet. So let me show you. This is the color. Oh, let me clean it off for you. Hold on here. Where did my paper towel go? Here it is. It's like a muted mauve, but the thing is that it's not white, but it's giving you a little bit of that coming out of shadow, and then we can hit it with some lights. So it's, again, layering from the darkest darks to the lightest. I know it's tempting to lay in these really brights because we want to see them. Trust me, I want to see them too, but it takes a little time to get there. And we're just layering. And I'm thinking, you know, where's these transitionings from the cool? We've got some really nice warmth in here. And so I'm going to add some of that into this top of this wave. Well, I might throw some of this down into here too. It kind of comes down. What makes me put this down? I've done these enough to where I know how the blending and the bringing out some of these colors. This is just over time painting a wave, you get to know where some of these colors lie. So if you're asking yourself, what is making her put it there? That's just experience painting the wave, but I like that I'm going to be laying in some of these lighter areas. And what this is going to be is that shadowed part of the foam. And I'll show you how that works in here, but it is a process. Okay, so let's go even lighter with some of this foam. I've got a light creamy new pastel, and I'm gonna try that out. Maybe down in here. Kind of just see. Just looking right in here. You don't have to get every little piece. These parts where it goes from the shadow to the light is pretty important though. You definitely want to get those right.
What color are you using now? Just an off-white?
The, what was that?
What color are you using now? A light cream?
It's like a cream, yeah. And just seeing how it's working with the shadowed areas. It's a new pastel. So see if I can get a picture of it. I like it because it's a little harder and I'm pressing a little harder and I can get some organic edging, I guess I would call it, where I can drag it and get it to play on the paper. And I really am using the pressure, varying pressure. Meaning I'm using the tip where these little areas right here, and then kind of switching to where it's maybe kind of using the whole entire piece like that. Mm. Also, you can roll it. You can roll the edging with this new pastel and just get those strings, you know, of your foam. Squinting your eyes and really looking at the mass of where it is, pressing harder. Doesn't have to be exact. We're gonna lay some other pastel colors down, but this is getting us started here. Okay.
Are you still using that new pastel?
Yeah. Yep. So I've kind of filled it in with varying pressure on using that. Just laying the foundation down and we'll go back in and adjust those with the brush and then add some on top of it. But that's just the first pass through. Let's go ahead and get into this wave portion. I realize I tend to paint really fast, so this is always good for me. This slows me down. Oops, let's see here. Okay, so I'm gonna go for some blue purple, and I'm looking at the shadow base of this crashing wave coming down. It's in shadow, and I remember this piece, it came up pretty high, this shadow. So this is like a purpley blue. Take a picture of it. I'm just kind of squinting my eyes. This is a little bit darker in value here than it is over here. So I'm gonna need to add a little bit more. Just pulling my pastel up just for this very light touch. Very light. This kind of comes out and over. I like that. Now I'm just kind of tapping, break up that hard line. I don't want to blend too much. Oops, right there. Okay. I'm gonna go back with that little bit darker purple and just come in here, a little bit more shadowed, just a little. And then there's a shadow piece right down in this, for the base of that little funnel part of the top piece, and it kind of carries over into here even. It's a little more darker right in here. Down. And actually comes right up into here. Okay. All right, now I'm going to come back and we're going to transition to even lighter with that cream. So our transitioning from the dark to the light, and then we're going to lay our lightest on top. So now we're going to come in with that same cream. I'm just going to put in where this foam line is, kind of where the real aerated part, where it's crashing down. And the great thing with these new pastels, I can blend, get these areas to blend. I want that very just light touch, and I'm tapping and tapping. I know that I'll come in and with the even lighter colors, it's a gradual change. This is much brighter over here. Blend this. Bring the water over. I have another little row foam up in here. This is actually kind of coming up almost to a point. I'm going to tap to soften those edges. Got some spray coming out. This is, I'm pulling it like it's crusting over like you would see the water. Need to add a little bit of a lighter green. Like a seafoam green. Okay. This is where we're going to go back and take a softer pastel. It's going to be just a little bit lighter in the cream color still. And now I'm going to lay a little bit more of that foam on top. I'm just pressing a little harder and laying a little more. And it's soft, so it's going to pick up and lay down a little bit more. So I'm just coming off to the edge here. Come along there. A little more. This is probably why I don't lay too much of the doing the underpainting underneath this section, because I do layer a little more with the foam, with the colors on top, and it can fill up the tooth a little bit. Okay. I feel like this needs to also come up. Press a little harder. And then this needs to have more shadow. Remember we were commenting like, and probably even darker down into here. Okay. Let me see where everyone's at.
Mine's a mess.
How are you doing?
It's a mess.
You know, this is painting waves is definitely challenging, right?
My last wave wasn't this bad.
But I tell you, what you learn is so worth it if you can see the lights and darks and know the shadows. Now, this is the part I was talking about. I have this really, it's pretty stiff fan brush and you can see all the dust, but this is what I've used to kind of lift off some of this pastel, and you can just brush it away if you want. And it works so well. And I use it quite a bit. And it just lifts, even like down here, if I want to just lift some of this and get rid of, or if I want this line to be a little bit more laid out, not so curving so straight, I can lift some of that off. Because that underneath is affixed. And having that variation of hardness, that pressure, and maybe I want to have a little area in here. I can just tap it off. Like that. And same up here. I'm gonna take some of that off. And even a lighter blue. So it's not white, but it's a very light blue. This seems to be a pretty important line right here. And a little bit hitting here. And having that transition. And I'm pressing a little bit harder, going over that cream. I'll just getting these transition a little bit better. I like that blue with the green. I'm just coming back in, and this is that underpainting. Just making it right up into here. Getting some, and then it's getting a little bit brighter, right? And just a little bit. We have that blue coming over. Kind of just testing it out to see if it's too bright. Where we have this is just a new pastel. Make your little strings of foam. Blending the shadow areas. I'm basically glazing over. We've got a little bit of this climbing up. And even bring that bright blue. Now I know that we haven't done the foam piece. Probably running out of time here. It's like that happens, doesn't it? Get in the middle of doing this. But when we do these layers down into the foam, it makes it more believable. It really does. All right. Not quite ready to spray it. But I can see there's some places that I need to. This always helps, like, see where those pieces of the foam are coming down. Those are pretty important. And I lost a little bit of that here. And then this piece got a little big. All right, before we go, everyone knows how to do the foam with the toothbrush, I'm assuming. So you can do that after when you're ready, but I'm not quite ready with this to do that. But let me everyone send over what you have. It's looking good, Jeannie. Very nice. Yeah, So on that bottom foam,
Mhm.
get it to where, see how it's coming down, which it does swoop down, but then start doing this like kind of crisscross where you're like this with your foam, but
Mhm.
staying level. It doesn't seem that it is, but it is. Good, Linda. So what you want to do is lighten up a little bit on your foam here
Mm-hmm.
or behind your wave, because you're about the same value. So your foam isn't popping out as much, but that looks really great. Very nice. That's
It's
on
really
top.
frustrating.
Oh, waves are
It's not-
not super simple.
Yeah, it's my first one.
I
Really.
think you're doing great. Yeah. It's a slow process. I mean, even right now I'm seeing like, oof, I need to add more here. And so it can be frustrating, but it's also very rewarding once you practice. Yeah, good, Jackie. Good. Very good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Very, very good. And now you get to practice on your foam piece here.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the trickiest part
Yep.
and the most time consuming. So just go slow and see how your pastel can move about on your paper
Mm-hmm.
by barely touching it. And that's the I guess the tip I want you to take away is less is more, and the foam is tricky. I will say it is, and I understand that.
This one is so hard. I feel like I need to start over.
And that's okay.
I'm using watercolor paper, and I've kind of exhausted some of the
Oh,
taking pastel in some places.
yeah. Yeah, you can tell it's probably pretty important to have that pastel paper at this moment, huh?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I agree. I think the part that I enjoy the most working on these is this transition from the light to the shadow part. And it's taught me a lot of optically blending. So you're blending on the paper and then layering those colors, the pastel on top of each other to then get to that transition point. But it's tough. It's taken a while, and the one thing that I can say about these waves, please keep practicing them, because there is a lot that you can learn from doing them. So good job, everyone.
Thank you so much for
Yeah, thank you.
another excellent and challenging class.
It is challenging, isn't it?
It's
It's
challenging in a good way. Good way.
It is. And the pastel mat is also wonderful to, it just grabs the pastel differently. So I love it and hate it sometimes, I guess, right? But the best thing to do at this point, take a break, step away, look at it from a distance. That's always the part that I encourage you to do, is really look at it from a distance and see what is there that isn't looking right, or isn't reading right, or needs to be darker or lighter. And keep at it. Yeah, good, Jeannie. There you go.
I added some splatter.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. And then you can come back in with darker if you want and fill in darker areas. But the wave it looks beautiful. I love it. With the little spray that you did, looks good. Very nice. Good job, everyone. Well, I'm going to sign off for now and keep sending over pictures. And thank you again for coming. And I'm sure I will see you in other classes. That's for
Love you,
sure.
Marie. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you so
Lori,
much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone. Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Bye.